Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to check out this new master cylinder brake bleeding kit that we got. It's commonly sold on Amazon. I'm not going to try and pronounce the name, but there it is. It's a replacement for the Dorman kit 14151. Comes with all that inside. We're going to get it out, lay it out, see how it looks, and then we've got a master cylinder to try it on. And we'll explain to you why we bleed master cylinders on the bench to begin with before we bring it over to the cars. All right, there it is laid out. This is surprisingly a really nice kit. It has the two hoses, some thread tape, and really every size you're probably going to need. Metric and standard. It has some adapters that are universal down there that you can just push into the lines. It's really a complete, comprehensive kit that will probably do 90% of your master cylinders on the market today. We'll get over to the bench and take a look at an old master cylinder we got and talk about why we're going to bench bleed it and how to bench bleed it. All right, we are here at the master cylinder. We got it on the bench, clamped into a vise by the ear. This master cylinder is probably older than most of you watching this video. This came off a 1960s Ford Mustang, and the fittings down here are going to be two different sizes, which is common on master cylinders. We got a 1 and 20 threads here and a 9/16 and 20 thread. They both threaded in just fine. Now, this one did stop face up. This one I got to tighten a little more. I'm not going to put any thread tape on there. Going to go ahead and try it. We'll get it set up and show you how it needs to look. Okay. So we have everything set up. You'll notice a little fluid in here. We wanted to test it real quick. We just tighten these up. Do not over tighten these plastic fittings. They will break. They include the Teflon tape in case it leaks. This did not. So again, I haven't really run across any of the fittings, these plastic ones that really leak that much. But you want to have it set up to where each chamber, if it's a dual chamber one, there's very few that are single chambers now. Well, actually, I take that back. Most of them are single chambers now. This is a dual chamber, and this is set up for a dual chamber master cylinder. If it were a single chamber, you would just take the hose and just imagine this is one, the plastic, reservoir. You would clip both of these into the one plastic reservoir like that to bleed it. But on this really old master cylinder, this whole thing is cast metal. It's a steel. So it's really old. This is how you would do an old one. It's the same process for a new one. Basically, the reason why we do this is we want to get the air out of the master cylinder here. When they ship them from the manufacturer, it just has very little brake fluid in there from the test on the bench, and they send it out. If you put this on the vehicle the way it is now, the amount of air that you're going to push back through the system down into the brakes and the lines is going to be astronomical. If you have an ABS system on the car, it's going to be even harder to get the air out. So that's why it is recommended to bench bleed the brake master cylinder in order to remove a good portion of the air that you would be introducing into the system. Now, you're going to introduce a little bit of air. You're still going to have to bleed the system. But it's going to be far less when you do this than if you go slap it on the car. Now, I know there's going to be people in the comments, like there always is, I slapped a master cylinder on a car. There are some vehicles that you cannot bench bleed them. That's fine. It's very few vehicles. But this is for the majority. 90% of your master cylinders, you need to bench bleed. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just fill up both reservoirs or the single reservoir, if you have a newer one, with the appropriate brake fluid. All right, we filled it up with some brake fluid. We're going to slowly engage the piston, and you're going to see fluid starting to go through the tubes here. And you see the bubbles there? Now when we retract it, fluid will draw down into the master cylinder bore here. The object is to keep the brake fluid above the hoses. So you want the hoses submerged all the way down. We're going to stroke it again very slowly. As you see there, brake fluid is starting to fill that first tube. And you want to do this until you get all the air out of the lines here. When you see no bubbles, that's when you know this master cylinder is bled. All right, We're going to keep stroking the piston here. It's going to get tighter. You don't want to go too fast. You want to get all the air out of these lines. You see how the brake fluid has gone down, and you get a little bit of air bubbles in there. Once you get all the air bubbles, you see in those lines, there's no air bubbles left, and they're all in there. Just give it a second to rest. Go ahead and fill your reservoir back up to the top. All right, fill the master cylinder up just below the top. You don't want it too far up because if you overfill it, it's gonna spill out. If it spills out, it's not a big deal, but don't get it on your paint because that will destroy the paint on the car. But as you see, there's no air left in this master cylinder, which is actually pretty amazing for a, 40, 50-year-old master cylinder. And it's rusty. This thing has been outside now. The bore's leaking a little bit. You guys can't see that on camera, but absolutely amazing kit. It did a wonderful job here. And as you see, everything's bled out. We're good to go. Now we're going to talk about how to put it on the car. We've had comments on another short about people saying, well, when you disconnect the lines, what are you going to do? It's going to leak out. It actually doesn't, and I'm going to show you. If you take this right out here, you see that? That's a residual drip. If you can't get to the car before this master cylinder empties from this line, you should not be working on vehicles at all. We'll take the other one out here. Same thing as well, right? So now we're holding them up and nothing's leaking. We're going to go ahead and cap the master cylinder and remove the lines and show you that you can walk over to the vehicle and this thing will not empty. All right, here we are on the bench. The brake master cylinder cap is on, and as you see, the lines are disconnected and there is no fluid leaking out. The reason that happens is because you're not stroking the bore of the master cylinder. So the fluid is going to want to stay up inside the reservoir until you push that in. As long as you don't touch this area and stroke that piston, you'll have very minimal drippage from this area. You should have more than enough time to get over to the vehicle, put this thing on, put the brake lines on, and go ahead and go through the bleeding procedure as normal, front to back from the vehicle. And you're going to start on the brake that is furthest away from the master cylinder and work your way to the closest. You'll have an assistant help you, and you'll get through it in 10 minutes. You won't have any issues, or you shouldn't have any issues, I should say, if you did it right, putting the master cylinder on and getting back on the road with a great, firm-feeling pedal. I hope this explains some of the issues from the last short. I hope this educates some people out there. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe.